Okay, my hopefully quick review of WonderWoman84. I went into the movie not knowing exactly what to expect, and I came out of it being pleased with the movie and really liking the overall message of the movie. I feel like the message was simple, but it was good enough. It was good. It was a clear start to finish movie that told a coherent story. The movie was not without its plot holes, of course. Every movie, even the best written movies, most of them have one or two plot holes. This one has quite a few plot holes, but I don't really worry about that kind of thing. I will watch a grade C movie and I'll enjoy that too, just as much. So for one, I have to admit, I'm not a good movie critic. If you're looking for someone who's going to be one of those critics that really knows how to pick apart a movie, I'm not that guy. And also, I'm not what you would call a movie snob. However, if you're looking for an average dude's honest opinion, then you've came to the right place. So I walked into the movie not knowing what to expect. No real preconceived notions other than I wanted to see Wonder Woman do some Wonder Woman-y type stuff, and I wanted a coherent-ish story. And I walked out of the movie, and by walked out, I mean I just hit stop on my TV remote because, you know, that December 25th home release, I totally took advantage of, and my whole family and I watched it. And so by stop, I mean I just hit stop and got up and went to get more beer and candy. It's the Christmas holidays, okay? I realize I'm getting fat, but well, there's no excuse. I'm getting fat. But I definitely enjoyed it. Actually, everybody in the room enjoyed it. Was it great? No. I wouldn't put this movie, alongside movie greatness for blockbusters or for holiday blockbusters of any kind, or even for superhero movies. I don't think it was the top of the pile, but I certainly wouldn't think that it's the bottom. And it's funny, I didn't think this movie was going to create so much controversy. And it has. There's a lot of controversy surrounding this movie. And I know what the controversy is. And I just, for the reasons that controversy exists, I don't see it. I don't see a need for it. I feel like it was good enough for what it was. $200 million budget. I would say being entertained and drawn in 90% of the time. Okay, that's $200 million well spent. Some of the pacing could have been a little bit better. Definitely. The script could have used one final look over rewrite just to tighten things up a little bit. It seemed like at times it moved perhaps just a little bit slow, but I think overall it was pretty good. Not great. Pretty good. One of the points of controversy is that Pedro Pascal's character, Max Lord, is really just a version of Trump. Orange Man bad inserted into a Wonder Woman movie. And I just, listen, if that was what they were going for, if they wanted to turn Max Lord basically into the DC Universe's Donald Trump, just an over-the-top kind of exaggerated version, I feel like they probably failed that, and miserably, because I didn't see it at all. And believe me, I'm a YouTuber. I spend a lot of time in front of my computer. I have seen a lot of Donald Trump. A lot of Donald Trump from all kinds of sources. And I can see how they might draw a few little parallels, but I really don't think that Max Lord was ever intended to be some kind of, we don't like Trump so much, we're going to actually insert a character into our movie universe that kind of craps all over him just to show our disdain for the Orange Man. Didn't see it. I will say that actually, opposed to that, Max Lord was probably one of my favorite characters in the movie. He had a reasonable character arc. He starts off as a selfish person, very selfish, very self-interested, and then we learn why he's very self-interested. He has this desire to prove himself, to not be a loser to himself, to the world, and most importantly, to his child. He's very neurotic. He is almost bordering on a little bit nutty. Certainly not like the Max Lord of the comic books either. The Max Lord that I remember is not quite like him as well. But he does a fantastic job of portraying this character who his inner goals and motivations are to just be a somebody, to stop feeling like dirt, stop feeling like trash. And he feels like this financial gain and having more consumerism is how he does it. To be rich, to be powerful, to have everybody like him. I think he he feels that's his way to being somebody in this world. And then it's good. By the end, he realizes the only person he really needs to be anyone to is his son. And that's it. His son loves him unconditionally, regardless of anything. He just wants to spend time with him. And Pedro Pascal's Max Lord spends all of his time focusing on what the people who don't matter think of him. And that's why he, at least for the first chunk of the movie, is nothing but a failed, pathetic oil tycoon. A failed oil tycoon. He's not an oil... He doesn't have any oil. He's just... It's all a front. So yeah, I really enjoyed the character that Pedro played. I think that he nailed that version of Max Lord. As long as you don't compare him to any other version, I think he worked for the movie. And then we have Kristen Wiig as the Cheetah. I got to tell you, I didn't know that she was going to do such a fantastic job. I really did not see that coming. I see her as someone who is a comedy actor, and she pulled this brutal, at times, sexy apex predator role perfectly. I mean, she started off playing a character that you know is kind of familiar for a Kristen Wiig character, kind of soft, insecure, that kind of deal. And then as the movie progresses, she becomes the sexy Cheetah, as Barbara Minerva should be at this stage. Now, I will say this, although she pulled the character off, I do have two kind of nitpicks, things that could have made the movie better had they done differently. Number one, the relationship between Diana and Barbara is a long, storied relationship, and it's truly heartbreaking that these two women who once cared about each other very deeply are now at odds with one another. And Wonder Woman will always be there to love her, forgive her with open arms, but Barbara is just so full of bitterness that it'll just probably never happen. Well, in the movie, the relationship starts pretty much at the beginning. I mean, Diana meets Barbara at the beginning, this timid little nobody who now works at the same place that Diana does. And then she decides she wants to be like Diana, and so on and so forth. But the relationship really doesn't... They tried to kind of force the relationship being lightning in a bottle during a coffee meetup. And it really just... I feel like that was probably a little bit rushed. They should have just had it as an established relationship that already existed. Remember, the last time we saw Wonder Woman in the timeline was after the war, and now we're in 1984. So all they had to do was establish the friendship, the long-standing friendship between these two, and that would have made the conflict between the pair of them probably a lot more meaningful, at least for me as the viewer. Comic book reader or not, that probably would have brought more value to the conflict between the two of them. And also the second thing about Kristen Wiig's Cheetah is I really kind of wish there was more Cheetah. I mean, she really wasn't Cheetah until the end of the movie, and only that for like a few minutes during the final confrontation scene between Wonder Woman in her golden eagle armor and Barbara Minerva in her finally realized second wish apex predator cheetah form. And then that was done. And as a side note, I feel like the Cheetah CGI probably could have been a little bit better. I feel like it was okay at best. It wasn't terrible. Again, it seems to be like this movie. Not terrible, not super great, but not terrible. I feel like that was what the Cheetah looked like. Something looked a bit off. Maybe it looked a bit too fake. I don't know. It didn't look horrible. It looked good, just not great. Man, I hate when I have to take that standpoint, but it's true. That's how I feel about it. And then, of course, it goes without saying that Gal Gadot's portrayal of the Amazonian princess was, as usual, pristine and perfect in every single way. When I watch Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, I'm not looking at Gal Gadot. My brain is fully convinced and immersed in the moment and believes that that is Wonder Woman. I mean, I don't believe it's Wonder Woman. We know she's a fictional character, but you get my point. I can very easily suspend disbelief when she puts on the tiara and the bracelets. No problem. She is fantastic in the role, as always. And it was very cool that she got to fly in this movie as well. Kind of fly, sort of. For those of you who watch the movie, you know what I'm getting at here. She kind of flies, but also sort of flicks the lasso and then goes like that, and then does some more flying stuff. And I don't know if she quite flies sort of the same as Superman. She kind of does more Peter Pan style ride the back of the wind kind of deal, whereas Superman can fly and move around of his own free will just by the sheer force of will in the sky. I don't think Wonder Woman's flight works quite like that, but it is cool to see her flying. I really just wish they gave her the ankle wings like she had way back in the day. That's how she flew back in the day before she could just fly without them. She had the ankle wings, and I feel like that could have worked very well. They could have actually used that in the movie. And as far as her lasso, there was a lot more of it in this movie, which for me was definitely a welcome addition. Remember, when I was growing up, yes, Wonder Woman would don the sword and the shield from time to time, but it had to be a big-ass battle for her to bring that stuff out. In general, she just used the lasso, and that was it. So it was nice to see the golden, the truth, the perfect being utilized so much by Diana in so many creative ways. She was into Indiana Jonesing, Spider-Maning around with the thing and grabbing people and things, and it was nice. It was good to see it used. I do kind of wish that Wonder Woman 2, Wonder Woman 84 didn't have to go the way of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, that sequel, which, if you'll notice, the first movie has all of their weapons being used all the time against the Foot Clan, and in general, they're not really used in the second one because parents bitch, whine, and complain, they got swords and weapons. They're Ninja Turtles. What did you expect was going to happen? But that's why they ended up using ropes of sausage and toys and stuff like that. It's because all the whiny parents. Also, Wonder Woman's invisible jet was in this movie, although it wasn't really Wonder Woman's invisible jet. It was just kind of a jet that her and Steve Trevor sort of nicked from the Smithsonian, and then she did her Amazonian, this is how we hid the island from the world of man for so long and made it invisible, and I'm going to try and do the same thing to the jet. And the jet kind of goes and becomes invisible to radar and the naked eye. It was interesting. That scene was a little bit gratuitous. I understand why they put it there. It was sort of establishing how much Steve and Diana missed each other and how much they love each other. But I don't know how I feel about them flying through all the fireworks and how many fireworks they were, but how fast that jet would have to be going to take that long to get through all the fireworks. There must have been a lot of fireworks. It was a little bit cheesy. A lot cheesy. But I mean, it is a Wonder Woman movie that's set in 1984, and that is kind of the sort of thing that you may have seen in a movie released in 1984, so maybe it gets a pass? Now, those of us who were excited about this movie also knew that Steve Trevor was going to be making his return. Chris Pine was seen in the trailer, he was seen in the imagery, and most of us were like, well, how does that work? How is he coming back? How are they working that? Because we all know that he died in the first Wonder Woman movie. And yet there he was. And I think that the way that he returns kind of makes sense. I didn't see this coming, but a lot of people were very upset that they brought Steve Trevor back just so that Wonder Woman could have a love interest in the movie. I didn't see that. I didn't. I feel like it made sense that they decided to bring Steve Trevor back because the whole premise of the movie is the wishes. You make these wishes. What's the one thing that you really, really want? And you make that wish, and then the wish is granted, but oh, you better be careful what you wish for because you get this wish, but there's also an equally as nasty little additive that comes with the wish. In Diana's case, she really wanted Steve Trevor back. That's the one thing that she wanted for herself. The one thing. Everything she does is for other people. The one thing she wanted for herself. She just wanted Steve back. She missed him so bad. And then, boom, she got him back. But then, really, the joke is that, Steve Trevor wasn't really back. He was just back in somebody else's body, which is really creepy. Some poor bugger had to lose his life, at least temporarily, so that she could have Steve back. And she didn't even really feel bad about it if you go back and watch the movie, which is kind of weird and creepy and a little bit out of character for Wonder Woman. She was just happy to have him back. But what about the guy who was inhabiting that body in the first place? And then the other nasty little additive is that her powers began to fade. The longer Steve was there, the less powers that she had. So Barbara had all of Wonder Woman's powers on account of her wish, and Diana had increasingly less of her powers because she wanted Steve. That's the trade-off. You want Steve, you ain't gonna have your powers no more. And whoops, you kind of need them because somebody else made a wish to get your powers, and she's ruthless. Oh, and by the way, Max Lord also, his wish was that he would become the Wishing Stone, and so all kinds of wishes are coming out of him, and he's dying, and the world is going to hell in a handbasket, and Wonder Woman, if she's ever really needed her powers, it's kind of right now, and it was Steve that ended up being the catalyst. Steve is the one who convinced her, after Barbara failed in a fight against, Diana failed in a fight against Barbara horribly. It was Steve Trevor that convinced her, yeah, you gotta let me go. You need to do your Wonder Woman thing. You need to save the day. Listen, I shouldn't even be here. The truth is more important, and the truth is I died a long time ago, and I should be dead. You gotta let me go. And then they have one final smoochy-doo around the corner, and then she takes off running, and all of her scars and battle wounds, because she's Wonder Woman, they magically disappear. And then she goes off, gets the Wonder Woman Golden Eagle armor, and flies off and has one final battle with Kristen Wiig, who by that point has made her wish to become the apex predator. And we get that 2.5 minute Wonder Woman Cheetah fight scene. And then we had the final end of the movie. So I guess after all that, the question would be, what do I feel about this movie? Do I think it was a reasonable take as another entry into the Wonder Woman film franchise, or do I feel like it's a total bed crapping and they wasted their time and money, and that was not $200 billion well spent? I'm in the middle. I would say if you're somebody who is looking for movie greatness, you're not going to find it here. It is not movie greatness. There are times when the CGI is not so great, and there are times when the story should progress a little bit faster. And I feel like it could have benefited from one more good, full-powered, strong Wonder Woman action scene. But it also wasn't terrible. The character development moved along at a reasonable pace. Steve Trevor did his job. He was there to be the love interest, a little bit of a guiding light, and some comedic interlude from some of the more tenser portions of the movie. Kristen Wiig, fantastic. Gal Gadot, fantastic. And Pedro Pascal, again, fantastic. So I paid $29.99 Canadian to rent this bad boy. If you watch this in the movie theater in a bigger city, you'd pay what, $18 or $20 to admission for one person to get in. The movie theater is not cheap. And so for me to pay $29.99, that was a steal. I really feel like for as many people to watch the movie in my house as did, which was 8, we would have paid a lot more going to the theaters. It was worth it to me. It was definitely worth it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the message, but just don't go into this expecting to find a great superhero movie. It is middle of the road. That's what it is. Good. It is a good movie. And that's as much as I can give it. And that's coming from someone who enjoyed it. But anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I will see you all in the next one. Have yourself a super fantastic, awesome DC day, super friends, and take care. Bye for now.